Bridgeview, Illinois, a rematch of the 2021 NWSL Championship game. It's the Chicago Red Stars versus the Washington Spirit. Alongside Lisa Roman, I'm Maura Sheridan. Glad to have you along with us on this Wednesday night in the NWSL. And Lisa, this is kind of a depleted roster for Washington, so they're going to lean on someone like Bailey Feist to really step up now.
Midfielder Bailey Feist for Washington Spirit. It's her second straight start in this regular season. And what Feist does so well is keep possession in the midfield for Spirit. She's clean, smooth on the ball, and she's gaining so much confidence every time she makes another appearance. 395 minutes played this season, and that number is going to continue to rise with all these quick turnarounds for Washington.
And then on the other side for Chicago, Ella Stevens has really started to shine.
Ella Stevens, forward for Chicago Red Stars, has done so well this year. Every game, she's progressively getting better. 2 goals on the season, but it's her combination play with the forwards, Rachel Hill, Sarah Lubert, Mallory Pugh, Yuki Nagasato, that has been so impressive. She can really rotate in with any lineup in the front line and contribute off the ball, on the ball. She's a hard worker, and that's what Chris Petroselli likes about Ella Stevens.
Well, Washington beat Chicago in the championship last year, but these two teams already played last week, and it came down to a draw.
An early goal for Chicago. You see Stevens getting that opening goal in the 10th minute for the Red Stars, using her head. It's her versatility to be able to do that. Rachel Hill was a huge factor in this match, but it was a big goalkeeping game between Aubrey Kingsbury for Washington Spirit and Alyssa Nair for the Chicago Red Stars. An opportunity for Chicago here, Ashley Hatch. That one gets called back. Hatch offside in this match, but such a well-matched game between these two. It ends up in a 1-1 draw. Both coaches saying that they easily could have won this one. It's the set piece that hurt Chicago, their 3rd set piece conceded goal in 2 games, and that one came from Sam Staub.
Well, we'll take a look at what Chicago is going to roll with their starting 11 here tonight.
A 3-5-2 rolling out for Chris Petroselli's side. In this midfield, we're going to see DiBernardo and Colapico drop back, be that double 6 defensive in the midfield, with Yuki Nagasato pushing a little bit higher. Pugh sitting right in front of Nagasato, and up front, Stevens, Lubert, and Hill. They're going to be the trio that the Red Stars attack Washington with.
And of course, Alyssa Nair in net. And then on the other side for Washington, this is their starting 11, and this looks a lot different.
A lot of new names here for Washington Spirit. Same formation in a 4-3-3. Ashley Hatch, the namesay up top, she is going to have a lot of pressure on her to lead this Red Stars team. Madison Elwell getting her first NWSL start, and it's Sonnet and Staub, the center backs, with Kingsbury between the sticks. Defensively, it's going to be a tight match for those 3 to try to contain Hugh and Stevens up top.
Well, we've got stars, we've got new faces, and we've got 2 teams in need of a win. It's Chicago and Washington on the other side of the break. Just outside Chicago, we prepare for today's match in the NWSL. It is Chicago versus Washington. In white, the road team in Washington, and in black, that is the home crew in Chicago. See the referee today, that's Callan Gradosov. And here we go. Alongside Lisa Roman, I'm Maura Sheridan. Again, these two teams played a week ago. This is a makeup game because of a postponement way back in May, and that's because Washington was playing in the final of the Challenge Cup. A lot has happened since, and currently it's Chicago in third and Washington in 10th place in the NWSL standings, which are ever-changing, and honestly everyone's kind of separated by a point or two.
Having Washington be in 10th spot is probably a bit surprising for people, but this early in the season, just 7 or 8 games in, this being the 8th game for Washington, there is so much soccer left to play throughout this regular season. The standings are constantly changing every single day. There's another game later tonight that could also shake up the standings depending on that outcome.
Well, Karina Rodriguez is slow to get up on the far side here. Rodriguez getting the start. She'll be the right back today for Washington. Again, the Spirit did not start Trinity Rodman. They did not start Ashley Sanchez. Kelly O'Hara and Andy Sullivan are both out today. So this is a completely different lineup, really, than what we're used to. But the back line is pretty steady, and it always helps to have Ashley Hatch up top.
The back line has a lot of consistencies for Chris Ward, with Anna Helferty on the left back position there now with the ball, Sam Staub, Emily Sonnet in the central back positions, and of course Aubrey Kingsbury in goal. That's a huge leader right there, and with Staub and Sonnet, those two can vocally lead this Washington team incredibly well.
Mal Pugh gets pushed down there. Of course, Pugh for Chicago, what's new in her stardom? Just incredible start to the year. Of course, was dealing with a concussion coming out of the Challenge Cup, so she didn't play right away. And then now that she has 4 games, 4 goals.
She's right back on track where she should be.
And it's crazy to think, because Pugh was in the conversation for MVP in the NWSL last year. She had 5 goals, and she's already almost at that mark. Here comes Chicago, off a cross to Stevens, booted out by Staub. DiBernardo controls, circles back. A little off to Nagasato. Kingsbury facing some pressure there from Stevens, trying to get it out of their defensive third here for Washington. And Sonnet clears.
We talked a little bit about the lineup for Washington, but the lineup for Chicago, an interesting formation with Mallory Pugh dropping back a lot deeper today than we've seen her throughout this regular season. She's going to look to play a lot closer to Yuki Nagasato. You can see Pugh, black jersey, the right side of your screen, number 9. Yuki Nagasato making that tackle for Chicago. Those two are going to look to stay close together throughout this game, stacked on top of each other or side by side in the midfield, so they can combine and take open space that Washington gives between the midfield and the back line.
So do you think that's a Washington-specific adjustment?
I think it is, based on the space that Washington gives between their defenders and their midfielders, and knowing how quickly there have been turnarounds for Washington in the rotation, especially in the middle of the field for Washington. Now it's Julia Rotter, Bailey Feist, and Taylor Almer in that midfield. That's a group that knows how to play well together, but they haven't been that consistent 3 together.
Here comes Pugh. She scored against OL Reign this weekend. Guys across, it's behind, and flicked up above the crossbar. Also goes wide, but a pretty good build-up there, starting from Mal Pugh.
Great play by Pugh here. You can see she just attacks the space. She cuts inside towards that near post. She closes her angle there. By doing that, it forces her to send that cross in. It almost looked like Rachel Hill surprised on the back post to have that cross come all the way in, but Mallory Pugh, a lot of space on this near side. Washington needs to get a lot tighter on Pugh.
So it's going to be Pugh to take this corner kick. You can see Sharples has come up Lubert. A lot of options on this set piece for Chicago. And Nagasato heads it forward. Booted out by Rodriguez, back to the midfield. Controlled by Morse for Chicago. Overall, though, the personnel for Chicago a little bit more normal, so to speak, for the Red Stars today.
A double slip there. We saw Alyssa Nair do it, and then right in the midfield happening for Colaprico. Raining on and off all day today in Chicago, so the turf is incredibly slick and incredibly wet, and this field, SeatGeek Stadium, is a lot bigger and a lot wider than Segra, where these two teams faced just 7 days ago.
Intended for Hatch, cut off by Sharples. Nagasato, Morse. Yeah, Ward seemed pretty excited, though, on the Washington side, head coach Chris Ward, about coming to play here. Here's a chance for Stevens. Into the area, cut off by Staub. Boxes her out, and Staub is able to clear.
Really impressive movement already from Stevens, Hill, Lubert, Pugh up top. Stevens has been all over the place, and that's what she does so well. You can see as she makes this diagonal run from the center of the field in behind, it's a really well-placed ball by Sarah Lubert, just the right amount of pace on it, so Stevens isn't offside, but Stevens running into a bit of trouble too quick before she can do anything with it.
Yeah, Stevens is one of 6 24-year-olds to get the start today for Chicago. They, you know, have a very young roster, but young and promising.
And with all these young players getting so many minutes and so much experience on the pitch in a regular season, it's only going to help Chicago moving forward, whether that's in the middle of this summer during international windows and World Cup qualifiers, or in years to come for this side.
Morse back to Sharples. Took over at that center back role for Tierna Davidson when she went down with an ACL injury. And Petroselli, head coach for Chicago, has been so pleased with the way that Sharples has taken over. Stevens has it poked out by Sonnet. Stepped out though, so Hill will get it here for Chicago. There's Petroselli. First-year head coach for the Red Stars. Pugh back to the net, so nifty.
That's good defense by Washington. When Pugh gets the ball, it's inevitable. Pugh is going to get the ball, but if you can limit her forward movement with that, that's a huge accomplishment. By forcing her to continue to dribble back and ultimately kick the ball out of bounds, it's great defense by the Spirit.
Colaprico, a little too far ahead of Pugh. We talk about the young players for Chicago, but having Colaprico and DiBernardo, I think, in that midfield just adds that veteran status that a team like the Red Stars surely needs. Colaprico was loaned out a couple of times internationally, but she really has been with the Red Stars since 2015.
A huge namestay in the middle of the field. Both Colaprico and DiBernardo for Chicago, they're the veterans, the well-known veterans that have controlled the midfield for the Red Stars for years. And because of that, Chicago has found so much success, making their way to the NWSL Championship last year, playoffs 6 years in a row. Really an impressive run, and it has a lot to do with Colaprico and DiBernardo.
Well, I think that championship game last year kind of spoke to perhaps the future of the league. Having Pugh and Rodman meet in the final. Of course, again, Rodman and Sanchez starting from the sidelines today, but there's a lot of great pieces between the two sides. And ultimately it was Washington who came up with a 2-1 victory. Came down to extra time, and Kelly O'Hara, who of course everybody knows about O'Hara and what she's accomplished both in the NWSL and on an international stage for the U.S. women's national team. but she headed in her first NWSL, or excuse me, her first goal of the year to win the championship. So what a moment. Here comes Lubert, puts one wide, and of course, Kingsbury with a diving save.
I love that confidence from Sarah Lubert. That's what it has given her going to Mexico, playing with a different team in a different league. Now coming back to Chicago, her confidence is soaring. She picks up that ball, she dribbles around defenders. It's the final step though, her shot. It looks like she slipped right before she got the shot off due to the wet turf, but that's a great look for Lubert.
Nagasato to Pugh, this is dangerous. Hits the side of the netting.
Thumbs up there from Mallory Pugh. Nagasato and Pugh on the same page. What a touch from Pugh to keep that ball in control, keep it in front of her, and then the angle just too tight. She sends it into the side netting. There need to be more runners in the box for Pugh when she gets those opportunities, and not so close. Pull themselves back right to the top of the penalty area, and that's where Pugh can lay that ball off for an easy cross and goal.
Yeah, no surprise that Nagasato's return to Chicago after a stint with Louisville has been very welcome. Was traded this offseason. Was a fan favorite before this year, and she has remained so as Pugh is slow to get up. Everyone's slipping and sliding all over the place here. These are two sides that have played a lot of soccer recently. Really, Washington, because they went so far in the Challenge Cup, has had to just barrel through until the international window. And of course, both of these teams now are in the midst of playing 2 midweek games. Sharples clips it out. Ends up staying in. Pugh will get the throw in here.
A lot of possession so far these first 13 minutes or so for Chicago. They're doing a nice job moving the ball, getting it into their attacking end, and controlling the tempo of this game.
Lofted to Kingsbury. The easy pickup there. But again, her side 1, 2, and 4. 4 draws on the year for Washington. That one victory was the first regular season game against OL Reign. That was a very exciting game, and of course they did it again in the Challenge Cup semifinal, and Washington won again. But since then, the Spirit have not been able to put one in the win column. Pugh. It's been the opposite, by the way, for Chicago. 4 games unbeaten. Obviously, Chicago hasn't been able to capitalize quite yet, but we've certainly spent a lot more time in one half of the field than the other half of the field.
Yeah, Chicago's just had so much possession and so much control of this game. They have a lot more experienced players on the pitch than Washington does at this moment, and that's exactly what it is. Now, what we see as Washington looks to control it and pass the ball around. When speaking with Chris Ward about the possession for Spirit, it starts with those 2 players right there, Sonnet and Staub, the center backs. If they can move the ball quickly, get it out from under them, that changes the game for Washington.
Hill tries to find Pugh, headed down by Staub. Lubert over the crossbar. Would have been her first NWSL score, just off.
What a quick counterattack from Chicago. Rachel Hill slicing and diving through the midfield. a soft clear out by Staub using her head, not really aware that there's no one else around her, and Lubert able to slice this one just over the crossbar. Looks like Kingsbury had it covered though.
Yeah, the last time these two teams played, I mean, it was a 1-1 draw, and both keepers had some incredible saves, and that's not really that surprising. Nair and Kingsbury are two of the elite goalkeepers in the world. Hatch trying to make something happen. Sharp was there first. Almer. Rodriguez takes her time. Now Sonnet. That's a center back pair for Washington, Staub and Sonnet, that recently today got named to the prelim roster for the CONCACAF Championship coming up in July. And there was a ton of names on that list. It doesn't mean they're going to make the roster, but that does say a lot, I think, about what Washington has in that back two.
A little chippy on that far side of the field. A number of players going down. It could be the turf. It could be some tough tackles. Ultimately, Nagasato drawing this foul, getting the call in Chicago's favor.
Lubert. Morse. Alyssa Nair. Milazzo. Late whistle on Sonnet. Stevens. Off a touch to Pugh, too far ahead. Staub to Kingsbury. Quickly out to Helferty. Elwell pushes Lubert from behind pretty obviously. A free kick coming for Chicago.
That's a quick ball movement that Washington needs to have as soon as Kingsbury gets the ball. Play it out to Helferty, look to find a forward in Elwell, just way too heavy of a touch from the rookie in Elwell. And then a sloppy foul to go into the back of Lubert there. And this is great positioning for the Red Stars, especially when you have this player right there, Pugh, lining up over it. She can put such great texture on this ball, and it's far enough out that it gives space for her players to run onto it, get momentum to redirect it on frame.
Pugh. Kingsbury hauls it in just in time because Sharp was on her way towards that back post.
A little too close to the end line and to Kingsbury for me on that set piece from Pugh. If she pulled that out outside of the 6-yard box, it would have forced Kingsbury to make a decision to go and grab it or sit back and wait for the second shot.
Little flick to Stevens. Now Pugh. Sonnet pokes it back.
More of that no-look pass from Stevens. She knew exactly where Pugh was making the run. She didn't even have to look. As soon as Stevens got the ball, her back towards upfield, she could just flick this one past her, knowing that Pugh was making that run. That partnership between Stevens and Pugh has been really impressive and fun to watch.
Lubert to Pugh in the box. Left-footed shot, and Kingsbury's right there. Again, Mallory Pugh, 4 goals so far this season. Rachel Daly, Nichelle Prince, and Mallory Pugh are all tied for second. Of course, Alex Morgan has the most with 8 goals and 7 appearances. I don't know if anyone's going to catch her anytime soon, but Pugh is on track with how quickly she's scoring in just, again, 4 games played. Nagasato Staub resettles. Tough loss for Washington over the weekend, falling to Gotham FC. Final score was 1-0. Midge Purse scored in the 21st minute, and Washington just didn't have much of an answer. Outshot in that game, 15-6, 5-2 shots on target. And just continued kind of some of the woes that Washington has faced. I mean, all of their losses across all competitions have just been by 1 goal, so they're not getting blown out or anything. Just need to find a way to win.
It's almost as if Washington's just holding on to every game. I mean, the last time these two teams played, Chicago scoring in the opening 10 minutes of the game, and it wasn't until the very final minutes of that match on a set piece opportunity that Chicago was able to, or that Washington, excuse me, was able to equalize on that. So it's the fact that the Spirit can hold out hope, hang into a game by anything that they have. It's a scrappy team play right now, especially with so much rotation, players off the bench, and seeing the depth of Chris Ward's team.
Again, certainly used a lot of that depth tonight. Only Hatch and Staub that are playing today have scored in the regular season, as that one goes wide for Washington. Nair, Morse, Lubert. Almer. Back to Pugh, tries to split the D, ends up losing it. Bailey Feist in the mix there for Washington. Talked about her recovery from an ACL injury, tore ACL in the preseason 2021, so she missed the whole year. She's been working her way back into this lineup for Chicago. Played over 300 minutes this season. And Ward, you know, we talked about this in the open, but he's needed players like that just because of this kind of grueling schedule for the Spirit early.
He has, and Ward has turned to his depth a lot. He's turned to younger players on the team. Rodriguez, one of them, a player that's come in and stepped up in a very big way in the absence of Kelly O'Hara in that right back position.
He did tell me a week ago that he thinks that of all players in the NWSL that can match up against Malpugh, he thinks Kelly O'Hara is the one. To not take her out, but at least slow her down more than anyone else can.
And isn't that funny? They play on the same club team and the same national team. They really only go at each other in training. So Chris Ward is probably the only person that could tell us that information.
Kingsbury off the slow roller. Washington, Chicago, Wednesday night showdown. Again, a rematch of the championship game last year. Washington came away to hoist the trophy. There's Hatch. Tightly by DiBernardo. Morgan Goff getting the start today. Loses a handle on it. Nagasato to Hill, up the touchline, races forward. Boxed out by Sonnet, and we'll get a whistle. And Sonnet is going to get a card here.
A quick card coming from the official on this one as Rachel Hill takes the space down the line. You see Sonnet stepping in right there as Hill makes that big touch forward. I think it's the left arm for Sonnet. It hooks right into Hill's neck. You can see it right there. Because of that, Hill goes down. And that's why the call is called, whistled, and then ultimately a yellow for Sonnet for a bit of a reckless tackle.
So early in this one, Sonnet playing with one yellow.
Hey, Justin, Tony's getting her dude. Hey, that's it. Yeah, it's in the box.
Ladies and gentlemen, a yellow card caution has been issued to the Washington Spirits.
No score yet.
Emily Sonnet in the 25th
Hill.
minute of play.
Surging ahead, here's a chance for Chicago. Slice back, but Sonnet gets in front of it. These two teams have pretty even record all time. Washington has a slight edge. They've won 11 times. Chicago's won 10. And all time they've played to a tie 6 times. Again, including last Wednesday. No numbers here for Washington. Off to stop. That's Elwell again, a rookie getting the start here for Washington. Elwell was drafted last year, 15th overall pick. Hatch. Decent cross in the air from Morse. Still in the box. Feist to Hatch, who's down. Tries to make a pass from the ground. Looks like Hatch lost her cleat.
One of the first times we've even said Ashley Hatch's name throughout this 26 minutes of this first half. She's been really quiet because Washington's had a hard time building possession down their field, connecting their midfield to their front line. It's been picked off by Chicago almost every time. Right there, Ashley Hatch looking to get a shot off. It's blocked. Doesn't even end up near Alyssa Nair in goal.
Yeah, when asked about Ashley Hatch, Chris Ward said that, you know, during this streak where it's been tough to come by a win, the locker room has really leaned on Hatch, and she's just really a positive player to be around. And of course, a good role model for some of these young players, just in her ability to score. She's got 31 career goals. Hatch, again, 3 goals this year, and she's the all-time leading scorer in Washington history with 24 as a member of the Spirit.
Not only is she the Golden Boot leader, but Hatchie's just such a nice person. She's such a good teammate in the locker room. That's exactly who you want talking to you after a tough loss, after you didn't play enough minutes. She's the person that you want to go to, and she'll lend a shoulder and an ear, and that's why Chris Ward speaks so highly of her.
Washington unable to get something going, and here's Stevens off to Hill. Cross, Lubert, one touch, barreled and fouled by Elwell.
So the long ball played in from Hill. Lubert, great touch by her. Elwell just coming in from behind. That's the second reckless tackle from Elwell in behind on Lubert.
Get her first start with Washington. Gotta be some nerves there. Pugh again on a free kick. Last one was a little too strong. Light this time. Just on the top of the box, Nagasato. Almost a handball, at least that's what Chicago thinks. Hill surveys, Nagasato stretches out, and we'll do it again.
Take a look here at the set piece as Pugh plays it in. Tough angle there to see, but at the handball. Oh, that's really tough between Sana and Nagasato. A lot of bodies in the way. It's pretty close though.
Lubert sprinting to it. Earns a corner for Chicago.
Lots of players trying to make their case tonight. And a Helferty ending, actually winning this one.
So they switched that, or that was the original call. Chicago just faking everyone out there, trying to set up. Rodriguez up the touch line. This little pass to Feist for Hatch. Sharp roll back to Alyssa Nair. Bernardo.
That's tough. Hatch looking for the press, waiting for the support underneath. Rodder just a step behind. When Washington goes to attack, they need to do it as a unit. All 10 players on the pitch moving forward. That'll close the gaps between the lines for them. That way, if they do turn it over and they look to have that quick, high counter press, there is support in behind after Hatch, Elwell, Golf make that initial step. The midfield needs to be right in behind them to pick off that second pass.
Kingsbury. Sonnet shaded by Nagasato. Kingsbury one shutout away from 25 career. Pugh. To Nagasato, sliding, but it goes to Kingsbury.
Great ball in here by Pugh. Sonnet being the one on the defensive efforts for a lot of these big stops from Washington. Nagasato coming out of the midfield. Yuki's been a really tough player in Chicago. Returning after spending a year in Louisville with Racing Louisville, now back in Chicago, where she spent a lot of her career with the Red Stars, and she's fit right back into the mold seamlessly for Chris Petroselli.
Pugh gets stripped there, but then Colaprico earns it right back for Chicago and gets tripped. Looks like Radosław might give a little warning in the process as well. Morgan Goff for Washington. Goff just 24, has not scored yet in her NWSL career, often comes off the bench for a couple minutes for Chicago and didn't play in any games last year for the Red Stars. Or excuse me, for the Spirit, my bad.
Goff signed as a national team replacement player in the summer, July of 21, during the Olympics, when Washington had a lot of players out on the national team, the U.S. national team that is, in their time in Tokyo.
No one gets a clean look at that. Lubert turned on the Jets. Back here with Washington. Staub. Sharple. Yeah, there's a couple of replacement team players actually made the roster for Washington. The other one is Almer. She was a replacement player with Gotham last year and just kind of earned her stripes in the NWSL and was picked up, and now obviously starting. She started a lot of the Challenge Cup when Sullivan was out.
A lot of coaches look to add depth to their team, and when a player has already had minutes with another team or in the NWSL as a replacement player on a training squad, that says something, because in these moments where there's quick turnarounds or when there's international breaks and you lose national team players, you need a deep bench, and that's exactly what we're seeing from Chicago over these last few days and Washington over the last week or so, digging into that bench and seeing the depth that they have.
Lubert gets tripped up and right at the edge of that touch line. Her and Helferty in a bit of a battle here. Again, Lubert spent some time in Mexico on loan, actually spent 2 seasons there, and didn't take a break. Went straight into the NWSL season with Chicago. Just kind of speaks to how much she really wants to be out there for the Red Stars. From Pugh again, this time just off the post. What a look for Hill.
Pugh's had a number of set piece opportunities from this near side. This one, the closest one yet. Great texture on the ball, and Hill doing such a great job to use her head, redirect this ball towards the back post, understand her awareness, overrun on the near post, and far enough out from the goal that she's got to put power on it, just off the post. What a close look for Chicago.
Colaprico slices that one into the stands. Again, SeatGeek Stadium, Chicago, Wednesday night, rainy Wednesday night. Finally cleared just in time for the game. Stevens plays with it in the corner. Rodriguez collapsing in, beats her. Stevens, DiBernardo trying to get the angle. Back to Stevens in the box. Look at all those white kits around her. Hill, Sonnet, out of trouble.
So much composure from Stevens in such a hectic situation. She does a great job to dribble and pass her way out of that.
Nagasato goes out.
Bit of a delayed whistle there after that ball went out.
Kingsbury will just kind of saunter over here as we take a look at this last sequence from Stevens.
A great job by Stevens. She dribbles between two defenders, dishes it off, and then creates herself in an open area again. You see her making that darting run. She puts her hands down. She wants it back, pulls it back, and then sends it out wide to Hill.
Hill. Now Hatch for Washington. Both fall down, and Hatch tripped her. Well, it's back with the Chicago. And Chicago's, you know, still missing some players. I mean, this is not a completely healthy Chicago team either. I think St. George has been really exciting for Chicago, especially kind of the chemistry she's having with Stevens and Pugh when they are in full force. She's got a pair of goals and she's out with an illness. Washington, again, can't seem to find any momentum.
Chris Petroselli ahead of this match saying that it's the first time in a few games where he wasn't questioning if people are ready to play minute restrictions at the last second before a game. They actually had an extra day of rest before this game, playing last week on a Saturday and then this week on a Wednesday, and that extra day really helped him determine which 11 he was going to put out as his starting team tonight.
And spirits are good for Chicago. I mean, beat OL Reign at home. At Chicago, I should say, just to clarify. This is part of a 3-game stretch in Chicago for the Red Stars. But still a very nice victory for Chicago, and they did a great job against OL Reign. The Seattle side really did not have much going offensively, only got a couple of shots off. And, I mean, the expected goals for OL Reign was 0.2. Pugh. Morse. A little too much juice on that, intended for Pugh. Kingsbury. Sonnet. Again, at this point in the last match, last Wednesday, Chicago was up 1-0. Stevens, we mentioned, scored in the 10th minute. So this is better for Washington.
Despite heavy legs, player rotation, yeah, Washington not having controlled much of the possession. They've gained more in these last 10 minutes or so against Washington, but really just containing and trying to keep possession of this ball. Look to move it really quickly when they go in possession.
Rotter, Elwell for Hatch, Sharples. Back to Nair. Morse thinks about her options. Sneaks through to Almer. Rotter with the lunge. Rodriguez coming up. Actually played a lot of time at center back during the Challenge Cup because of some injuries for Washington, and what a block there from Colaprico, just putting her body on the line. Off the heel of Milazzo, off the body of Hill. Might be some bruises for these Chicago players tomorrow. Milazzo again, a souvenir. Oh, 2 soccer balls. In the circle with Staub. Now Sonnet. Feist. Rodriguez. Feist, denied by DiBernardo. Nagasato to Hill. Hill has the best look of this first half, just off the post on a set-piece header.
Such a beautiful opportunity from Hill. Really such a good job. But now as Washington looks to retain possession, we've seen Rodriguez, a number of throw-ins on this far side, but nothing able to come of it. It's that final connector pass from the midfield for Washington to their front line that's lacking.
Pugh, Luber, looking for a final push here before the end of the half. In the box, off the wing to Pugh. And Kingsbury is able to grab it. Looks like Pugh might have either got a light touch or whiffed on that.
What a great opportunity. Pugh picks this up in the midfield. She attacks the space in front of her, which draws defenders in, with Sarah Lubert making that wide run. You see as Pugh plays Lubert wide, Lubert, you see, she keeps checking where are her runners, attacking that front foot of Staub. She cuts it in. Oh, it doesn't look like Pugh gets anything on it. You see the frustration immediately in Pugh's stance after that.
Nagasato off to Hill. Bounces around for Almer. That's the only thing for Chicago so far. I think they've played a really good game, but maybe have left some on the table going into halftime with the options of Rodman and Sanchez on the bench for Washington.
Yeah, but giving a player like Rodman and Sanchez just 45 minutes or so of rest, yeah, that's very helpful, but also the damage that 2 players like Rodman and Sanchez can do in 45 minutes is a lot.
Elwell on the same page with Hatch. Yeah, and again, Rodman and Sanchez both have a goal this year. And Rodman had a ton in the Challenge Cup to go along with a lot of assists too. Really was cooking in the Challenge Cup. Washington in general, it's been a slower start to the regular season, but they have the pieces, absolutely. It's just about getting healthy. Hill. Colaprico through the middle, off to Stevens. Stumbles a little. Doesn't sound like we're going to get any stoppage time. It's been a pretty free-flowing game so far.
Now we see Washington sitting back, allowing Chicago to play out. Hatch in the center circle on the attacking half for Washington. She's the one that will start this press if Washington chooses to do that. Ooh.
Nagasato taken out on that one, and we will see a card given out. That one to Almer. That's the second card we've seen for a Washington player. Remember, Sonnet got one earlier.
Bit of a tough foul here. You can see as the ball gets chipped in here to Nagasato. Right, a little jersey tug there from Almer.
All right, so we actually will get a minute of stoppage time, just a minute. But again, that card given out to Almer for Washington. Nothing comes of it, though. Quick takeaway from Hatch, playing some defense for the Spirit. Rotter. Weiss to Hatch. Nice tackle out by Morse.
Hatch sliding over, playing centrally for the first 45 minutes of this half. Now you see her on the left flank, just creating a bit more urgency in the attack for Washington.
Elwell from the corner. Looks to center. Helferty denied on that entry from Stevens. Will be a corner for Washington. Right before the end of the half. Staub moving quickly. First chance they've had like this. Remember, they scored on a corner last time around, and Sonnet's header goes into the crowd, and that's the final whistle. So we don't have a score yet between Washington and Chicago. We've played 45 minutes from Illinois. Thoughts on this half, Lisa?
A lot of good showing from Chicago, the possession that they've been able to do, the attacking in a variety of ways. We saw a great opportunity on a set piece, a few close calls in the run of play, but Washington, they took some time to get into this match. Towards the end of it, the last 10, 15 minutes of this first half, Washington having more possession, creating more opportunities, but it's been a slow start. Heavy legs for both sides of these teams, and you can tell.
Well, nothing for either side so far. A couple of good looks from Chicago specifically. But again, in the rematch of the championship game last year, no score between Chicago and Washington at the halftime break.
Zpochybňuj si, co chceš, jen ne tuhle chuť.
Scoreless at halftime between Chicago and Washington. And of course, there's a lot of games going on in the NWSL this weekend. But today, Portland and San Diego play. That's later tonight. And before that matchup, Lisa Roman got a chance to sit down with Madison Pogarsh and Kristen Westphal for the CBS Sports podcast, Attacking Third.
San Diego, the Wave, hovering around the top of the standings right now. How has the season been for you and then San Diego?
Yeah, I bet it's probably pretty unexpected for a lot of people to see us up there, but we've been cruising. But it's just been super fun to be part of a new team. I've never been part of like a startup team, so that was a brand new space for me, but it's honestly been so enjoyable with the girls, the staff. I mean, living in San Diego, I can't complain at all. So yeah, it's just been great. I don't really have any complaints. So
Kristen, you're with a startup, as you mentioned, an expansion side, but Maddie, for you, I'm going to call you Poe. Love that. Poe, for you, you're with the Portland Thorns, a very well-established team in the NWSL, riding throughout the Challenge Cup, now into this regular season on the pitch. How are things for Portland going? What's kind of the vibe of the team right now in these early weeks of the regular season?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we are an established club. I think when you look a little bit closer, we have new coaching staff, we have some new faces in. And so there is a level of some kind of startup going on. And so I think in the beginning of the season, Challenge Cup, we were trying to like figure that out and trying to feel out some of the new situations, some of the new things. And so as we kind of like go through this season, and I think we're starting to become more comfortable with each other and the new systems and the new staff. And so it's been kind of cool to have something new, but also something very similar. It's kind of the same, but yeah, I think Challenge Cup was very much like us trying to figure it out and trying to get on the same page. And then now I'm kind of excited because I think we're really starting to get into our groove, and we got 2 big games coming up. Top of the table, Houston is in second, and so this could be a big week for us. So I think we're really looking forward to it.
Download and subscribe to Attacking Third wherever you listen to your podcast, or watch his video at youtube.com/Attacking Third.
Well, both those players will be in action tonight as San Diego and Portland match up. CBS Sports Network. I think that's going to be a very good one, Lisa.
A huge matchup between these two sides. They saw each other twice throughout the Challenge Cup. Tough matchups between these two sides. Portland, they're coming off their very first win since the opening weekend in the regular season. San Diego looking to stay at the top of the standings. It's a huge matchup between these two.
Very interested to see how that one plays out. Again, you can catch it on CBS Sports Network tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Here's the upcoming schedule. Saturday, of course, you see Washington is right back in action against North Carolina.
A really quick turnaround for Washington. Of course, Chicago, they will play on Sunday, but between these sides, Racing Louisville, Angel City, another good matchup. Kansas City and New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC, a Saturday night action, 8:30 Eastern, kicking off. A lot of good matches around the league this weekend.
As per usual, there's always some good stuff going on in the NWSL. We've got a tight one right here. Chicago, Washington, no score yet at halftime. We'll be back with highlights and first half stats after this. halftime between Chicago and Washington. We don't have a score yet, but we still had some highlights in this match. So we'll take a look at the first 45 minutes of play. And again, Chicago with a couple more looks than Washington, specifically Mal Pugh getting things started here for the Red Stars.
Mallory Pugh was all over the pitch for the Red Stars, just taking all of the space that was given to her down the pitch. You can see her head. She's looking inside. She's looking for runners in the near post. None of them come. She ends up crossing this in. It's Hill on the back post who comes late to it. Rodriguez for Washington sending it out ultimately at the end of that one. A lot of good looks for Chicago, though. You see as this cross comes in. Stops. She pushes this right out to Luber. An incredibly close shot from Sarah Luber, really well struck by her. Confidence and patience for her to settle it. One touch, strikes it with her laces as she falls to the ground, goes right over the crossbar. This, Mora, perhaps the closest look for Chicago. Rachel Hill using her head to redirect this ball towards the back post. So much texture on this ball in from Pugh, just off the post. Kingsbury tapping that post and saying thank you at the end of that one.
Well, the home team has been knocking, but they haven't been able to completely score. Again, there's no score between Chicago and Washington in the first half of play. We'll be back for the second half after this.
Zpochybňuj si, co chceš, jen ne tuhle chuť. Ochutnej novinku Mighty s extraktem z konopí.
Welcome back for the start of the second half. Chicago, Washington.
Alongside Hatch in the front line with Rodman, it's going to be a different half.
And a clean slate, too. No score yet between Chicago and Washington. For Pugh from Stevens, Staub slices it out again. Here's Pugh. Stevens, Colaprico. Back to Pugh in the corner.
Ladies and gentlemen, substitution for the Washington Spirit.
Sanchez racing forward, looking to cause a mistake. Almost does. Slips over Goff. Back to Pugh.
That's really good look for the high press. It was initiated by Sanchez, fresh legs coming off the bench. She made that initial run, and immediately the reaction from Hatch and Rodman, support, come in behind, and that's exactly what they did.
Corner coming for Chicago. That tackle from Helferty sent out of play, as Lubert has played really well for the Red Stars here early.
Lubert's drawn a lot of good opportunities. She's created chances. She's drawn defenders in, which allows more open spaces for Mallory Pugh, and drawing this corner kick, it's a good look for the Red Stars.
Here comes Pugh. Getting closer and closer on these set pieces. It's down through the air, nothing there. Lubert bounces out to Colaprico. Keeps it in the box. Off to Rodman.
Tough slice by Sonnet there. She tries to clear it, but Trinity Rodman making a difference immediately in this match. She's dropping back farther than Elwell was doing to help out defensively, and by doing that, she's able to pick up those balls. She drops it back to Sonnet. It's just another player in the mix to help in this transition and build out for Washington.
Colaprico keeps it for the Red Stars.
Oh.
Here comes Sanchez, all by herself. Rodman coming to her right, finds Rodman. Has to back up a little bit. On that right wing, Trinity Rodman off the post. What a look for Rodman. Would have been her second goal in the regular season. A hair off.
Resting players like Sanchez and Rodman, it's well worth it. Look at this pressure from Sanchez, forces the mistake from Sharples, and then just attacks, hold up with Rodman. Rodman able to drive towards the near post. She gets this cross off so close. It looked like Nair got fingertips on it, actually. Good save by Nair, if that's the case.
Well, those two had a fun battle the last time that these two teams played, literally just a week ago. And Nair made a point-blank stop for Rodman's shot, really to just kind of squeak away with a point there for Chicago. Like you said, both coaches kind of felt like at one point in the game they could have kind of taken control and actually won that. But again, it was high pressure keeper play, and that's just what happens when you have Kingsbury and Nair back there. There's another chance, blocked away. Nair again.
What an incredible save by Alyssa Nair right there. Huge heads-up play from the goalkeeper for Chicago. Incredible job, Helferty. She sends this one forward, and a really nice job here, Goff. Crosses this in, Hatch gets the head. It's a one-handed save by Nair, and then saved off the line by Chicago. Watch Nair here. Incredible reaction, and then punches it just before it goes over the end line. New life has been breathed into this Washington Spirit side.
Sanchez flicks it to Hatch, just a little off. But yeah, used both hands there, did Nair.
That reaction time for her to be on the ground and then still use her hand, just flick it out about an inch or so. That was enough for then Colaprico to clear that.
And that's a mistake there for Chicago, and you can just see Washington, like you said, new life, energy's up a little bit, and that press causes not just a turnover, but a corner.
This second half, it's been more high press from Washington, and that's with the spark from Sanchez and Rodman off the bench. It's breathed life into Hatch up top as well, and Goff. First the turnover from Sanchez, and then this forced turnover by Hatch at the end here, drawing a corner kick, and a bad mistake from Chicago. Under pressure, and they can't get it out.
Stab. Out by Stevens. Goff slices through, denied. Colaprico again. She's had a couple blocks now.
It's that defensive six. Colaprico is really good at that.
Back in the box, that was Colaprico who headed it out. Bouncer to Rodman. Rodder Hill. Bagelski. Off Hill again. Bagelski. Muscled away by Colaprico. Still not a full clear to Rodman.
Bit telegraphed by Washington as soon as they pick up the ball. It happened with Rodder a few times looking for Rodman out wide, but it's just very obvious that that's where Washington is looking to go. Rodder knows she wants to play there. She's got to fake inside, take another dribble, draw a defender, and then flick it out to Rodman.
Nagasato. Pugh. DiBernardo moves it right. Lubert has it swiped. Helferty. Staub. Feist with some green. Bagelski. Up to Sanchez, immediately making an impact for Washington. That quick feed to Trinity Rodman ultimately shot it off the post for the Spirit. Rodman turns on the Jets, bounces out in front.
Just runs out of real estate there, but that's a really good look as Washington looks to switch the point of attack, knowing that their weak side forward, whether it's Goff or Rodman, but I can guarantee you they're going to look to find Rodman more times than not. Aim for that corner flag. Rodman will get onto it. With wet turf, though, and a slick night, it's hard to weight those passes correctly.
Saw Chris Ward there, head coach for Washington. He's got the monogrammed raincoat going on. Chicago's going to have to pull this back. Petroselli looks confused.
Fans don't sound too happy about this call.
Okay.
Looks like the official's going to call it out of bounds all the way up at the half.
Rodder rotates to Kingsbury. Bagelski through some contact. Here's Sanchez again. Saw that look to Hatch.
Looks like the ball got caught under Sanchez's foot. That's why she wasn't able to get enough pace to curl it around the back line of Chicago to find Hatch on the run.
Sonnet. I mean, Chicago really dominated just possession time, controlled kind of the pace in that first half. Washington here in the second has come out very strong.
Not only has Washington come out stronger in this second 45 minutes, but they've upped the tempo of this game. They've said, we're gonna kick this into fourth gear, move the ball a lot quicker, look to switch the point of attack, find those open spaces between Chicago's front line and their midfield, and that's exactly what's happening. Rodder, Feist, they're sitting in those holes, which gives open space to Sanchez to pop in front of them, pick up the ball, and that's what we've seen, which is working really well for the Spirit.
From Staub, over the head of Hatch, off to Nair. Big toss out. And it bounces in front of Lubert.
Chicago's having trouble combining their passes. They were doing that so well in the first half, finding their midfielders, finding the feet of Yuki Nagasato, combining with Pugh and Stevens, and Stevens doing a good job to hold up the ball. But now Chicago can't seem to connect passes, and that makes Washington look really good in the pickoff passes.
Pugh slips it to Hill. Didn't want to go offside. Again, it's been over a month for Washington since they've had a true victory. 4 draws so far in the regular season. 2 losses and 1 win. And for Chicago, it's been a very different story. 4 games unbeaten, got 3 wins so far in the regular season. But just like Washington, it's been, a little bit hectic as of late. Chicago's played 4 games in 2 weeks. Bigelski tries to slide it to Sanchez. Nagasato, Sanchez on her back. Milazzo, Sharples, here's Hatch. Morse, looking for some separation. Lubert, edged out. Rotter. Colaprico earns it for Chicago. Off there to Pugh. Sonnet playing with a yellow card. Stop has 1-2 back there. Or excuse me, it's Almer who's actually out. Oh. Lots of bodies down here. Play on though. Colaprico to Hill, left wing, goes for it. Pugh, almost.
What a close opportunity for Chicago. Rachel Hill, she's been really lethal with that left foot down the left flank for Chicago throughout this game. When she gets the ball, she gets a little bit of space. She gets her head up and looks to cross this ball in.
Well, here come the Spirit. It's Rodman up the middle. Now on the right, Sanchez coming in. Colaprico's tackle unsuccessful. Still with Sanchez. Takes a shot from deep, and it's off wide.
Take a look here at the tough tackles. Lubert then gets taken down by Sonnet. Colaprico picks it up, flicks it wide to Hill. 1 touch cross in, and Pugh so close, just an inch taller, an inch higher on that jump, and Pugh would have had it.
So it looks like we'll see Ava Cook will come in for Ella Stevens. And we'll also see Aguilera, that's Jill Aguilera, come in. She'll take out Luber.
Good shift from Ella Stevens up top, and now Ava Cook stepping in, the rookie that's been really influential for Chris Petroselli and his side in the attacking ways. He's been pleased with Cook and her competitiveness, her aggression in the attacking end, and that's a good move to bring on a player like Cook. She's gonna fight for every ball on both sides of the ball. Already doing that, as you can see, winning free kick for Chicago in her first moments on the pitch.
Yeah, Cook also leads the team in assists. She's got 3, been absolutely instrumental for Chicago. It's in her first year in the league.
Really nice shift from Sarah Lubert too, as she heads off, gets a bit of a rest after 60 minutes or so. Good opportunities from Lubert. She created a lot, caused some trouble for Washington, but now bringing on some fresh legs for Chicago. Hopefully add a spark to this game for the Red Stars.
Kingsbury had to move quickly. Sonnet in a little bit of trouble. Off to her keeper, Cook, trying to make something happen. And it goes out. Her and Kingsbury very, very close.
Cook stepping onto the pitch. I bet her job was to put pressure on Washington's back line. See this, as soon as it's played back, Cook is off sprinting. That huge touch from Kingsbury almost burned her. Cook getting that slide tackle in there.
Sonnet. Bigelski, sigh of relief for Washington. There's Rodman. Slips to Pugh. At her feet. Got Sonnet falling. Kingsbury beats everyone. because Hill was charging forward, just worried about staying onside. Goff for Washington. DiBernardo, a little cutter. Again, still no score between Washington and Chicago at SeatGeek Stadium, Bridgeview, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. Alongside Lisa Roman, I'm Maura Sheridan, and definitely it seems like someone is about to score. The question is who? I think in the first half we would say absolutely Chicago, but now, not sure. This game has gone back and forth here in the second half.
Washington has upped the tempo. They're finding feet more. They're creating more opportunities with more off-ball movement in their attacking end. And most recently with Chicago bringing on new players in Cook and Aguilera, they've added more life. They've caught up to the tempo that Washington's looking to play in this game.
Goff is frustrated but called for a foul there against Sharples. Here's Morse. Off the boot towards the midfield. DiBernardo. Morse out in front of Petroselli. Nagasato trying to find Cook. Kingsbury. High flyer. Helferty. To Hatch. For Rodman. Nair with the sliding poke out.
Great read by Nair, coming off her line, catching Rodman off guard.
Sanchez rips one. A soft target.
Back and forth action for both sides. You see here as Hatch picks it up. Great one-time long ball in through to Rodman. Rodman waits too long for the ball to settle, and Nair takes that opportunity to come off her line and clear it out. Otherwise, that would be incredibly dangerous for Rodman to pick up the ball in that space.
Yeah, I remember at the very beginning of the season, it might have been the first time I ever talked to Petroselli. He said, look, we have a luxury that a lot of teams don't have. We have Nair back there, so we can sometimes make mistakes and we'll survive. Pugh. Tripped up by Bagelski. Milazzo. Bagelski off the body. Rodman. Aguilera on the throw in here. Seen her playing time go up and up for Chicago. From Cook. Nagasato putting the pressure on. Kingsbury. Helferty, nice move. Blazes past Hill. Sharples looks for options, goes back to Nair. Soaring towards the midfield, Pugh bounced around, and we've got a whistle and a card. It's gonna go against Chicago, and Cook, who just entered, will be handed a yellow card.
Tough tackle here as it comes in. Sonnet going in, and Sonnet gets possession of it, and you can see immediately in the background Chris Ward going crazy as Cook comes in, cleats up, takes out Sonnet. Not good to see Sonnet still on the ground here. It's really slow to get up.
Yeah, Kingsbury's gonna come out and check on her. See Sam Staub there as well.
This is at half field. Kingsbury all the way up at the midway point of the field to check on Staub, make sure everything's all right.
Also help her, there was some dirt on her. Wipe it off, give some directions. Kingsbury goes back to where she usually is in net. And Washington gets started. Looks like Sonnet's all right. Feist. Helferty off a chip. It's gonna go back with Chicago. Believe that hit the arm of Feist.
Tough call for Feist. We've seen a lot from Bailey Feist throughout this match. In the midfield, she controlled a lot of the possession when Washington was on that run, but we didn't call her name enough because she only had 1-2 touches and then she got rid of it. But that's Feist's role. 1-2 touches, get rid of it, and then break up a play defensively. And she's done a really nice job at that.
Hugh off to Hill. Quick throw in for Chicago. Nagasato open. Cook in the box, surrounded by Washington jerseys. Goes wide to Hill. Off across, Kingsbury hauls it in.
Cook dancing on the ball, doing a nice job of occupying that space and realizing 3 defenders closing in on her. Can she lay it off with the cross in for Chicago? Not good enough with the goalkeeper like Kingsbury in goal. You've got to make it a bit more deceptive on that one with runs towards the near post so you can get in front of the ball.
Rodman. Sanchez floats backwards. Doesn't connect there on that touchline pass to Bogelski. Look, we've got, over 20 minutes left. What do you think each team has to do to create some separation here, besides score?
When Chicago controlled the first half in the tempo and the possession, it's when they were connecting passes. But giveaways like that, Washington is going to punish you. And Washington needs to take these chances that they're given, have movement off the ball, combine with each other in the attacking end. We saw that the first 10 minutes of this second half, a really nice job by Washington in their attacking end to combine and get in behind. And now it's too many touches from Sanchez and Rodman Hatch when they get the ball, and not enough movement off the ball.
Nagasato goes rolling down. Rotter is going to be warned on that one. And now we'll have to do that again. Just a reset here. Rewind, and Chicago. Colaprico will go past the midfield line. Look, this game is, getting chippy and intense, not in a bad way, but these two teams, again, they played a week ago. It's a 1-1 tie. Some big superstars as Pugh offside. Of course, a lot of the players that are on the field right now went up against each other in the championship game last year, in which Washington won 2-1.
Not just last year, but also a week ago. This is very familiar sides between Chicago and Washington, and that's why this game has been so fun to watch unfold, because they know how their opponent plays, and so it's finding the open spaces, the differences in this game versus 1 week ago, where those open pockets are that teams can pop into, and Washington unlocked that pretty quickly in this second half, and now Chicago has found ways to plug up those holes again.
Bogelski, Sanchez, back to Bogelski. Aguilera. Nice defense there. Rodman in the corner here for Washington. Still with Rodman to Sanchez. Dangerous there, and Sanchez is going to be called for a foul. And it appears to be a head injury, so immediately the training staff will come out. That's Colaprico. Hate to see something like that happen, but again, just some head-to-head contact.
Immediately, the center official calling for the training staff to come over. With a knock to the head like that, it's always dangerous. You can see here as Colaprico, as Rodman kicks it in, there goes Colaprico as Sanchez comes in. Looks like her shoulder gets Colaprico's head in that instance.
Yeah, definitely shaken up, and obviously Chicago teammates surrounding Colaprico talked about what she means earlier to this team in that 6 role. More than anything, they just want to make sure she's healthy, and glad to see she's sitting up as they'll test her out. Smile on her face, that's good. Again, these two sides without a score yet. It's a 1-1 tie a week ago. Did see a late goal from Sam Staub on a set piece. Just came up and headed one home. Let's see if we get any late scores from either side here. As Colaprico is up. Does sound like Chicago will make a sub. Griffith is waiting on the sideline, and presumably that will take out Colaprico. All right, Chicago ready to restart.
I've been impressed with Chicago's back 3. Milazzo, Sharples, Morse. They've done such a nice job in just a 3-back at holding down what Washington's been throwing at them, and we haven't seen Hill drop back too much, but Aguilera definitely falling into that back line a lot, marking up against Goff, making sure that it's not a 4v3 in the back.
And that's not really the back 3 you would have maybe predicted going into the season for Chicago. A lot of those players just, you know, stepping up. Again, they're all 24 years old.
I've been really impressed with Kayla Sharples and her organization as a center back, what she's been able to do, step into that role. Her vision as a center back to split lines. She's not a fancy center back. She's not going to break 3 lines with the ball, but she's going to play clean and simple. She looks to combine really well with Colaprico and DiBernardo in the midfield, and that's what you want from your center back.
Colaprico is back out there, so Griffith won't come in quite yet. Here's Cook, sprinting forward, edged out by Staub, and Kingsbury makes a diving stop.
Cook getting a few sniffs at goal. She's creating high pressure opportunities and situations in the box for Chicago, which puts Kingsbury, Staub, Sonnet under pressure in the back line for Washington, something that Chicago really hasn't done throughout this match until Cook came on.
Cook does have a goal. It was against San Diego at the beginning of the year, and a loss away for Chicago, as it does look like we'll see another sub come on. Washington will send out Harding.
Ladies and gentlemen, substitution.
And that's Audrey Harding coming in for Morgan Goff. Harding has a couple of starts under her belt for Washington. Rodman. Morse sends it out for Chicago. From Feist to Sanchez, read well by the Chicago defense, but Sanchez gets it back, and she runs right in to a defender there, and that's Colaprico again, who just got hurt, and now we're going to see Rodman get a card for arguing.
She's still going, Rodman. Take a look here at the fouls. Weiss lays it off, looking for Sanchez. And then Sanchez picks it up there. Looks like Colaprico goes in and just stops with her feet, and Sanchez runs right into her. Pretty hard collision between the two of them, especially after Colaprico was just being treated for a bit of a headbang.
Well, that's the third card we've seen against Washington. Rodman has one, Almer, who's on the bench, has one, and then Sonnet does as well. Got that one in the opening 20 minutes of the match. Q.
A yellow card caution has been issued to Washington Spirits number 2, Trinity Rodman, in the
Colaprico,
77th minute of play.
Cook, Pugh. Aguilera gets a corner.
Great job by Aguilera. The ball had so much curl on it. Looked like it was going over the end line. It doesn't, but Aguilera there fighting till the last step, and she ends up keeping it in bounds and then sending it off a Washington player, which draws a corner kick for Chicago.
Pugh on the set piece. No score between Chicago and Washington. Can this be the separation that the Red Stars need? Nagasato. That hits the back of the head of Helferty. And that not go off of her. No. So it will be with Washington.
Yuki looks confused as to how that wasn't off of Helferty, and Helferty defensively just keeping track of Nagasato. You know that Nagasato's dangerous on set pieces. She can get up. She's crafty if it lands at her feet. And because of that, Helferty just putting her back to the ball. It's actually a pretty dangerous play, not knowing if that's coming in. If Helferty can square up and play with her chest facing out, keep a hand and one eye on Nagasato, it's a better defensive position.
Cook to Pugh, denied by Kingsbury. What a stop there by Kingsbury. Good look from Cook. Back with Washington.
What a look from Chicago and Pugh. I mean, Kingsbury making herself big. Really well done by Kingsbury. The goalkeeper play tonight between Nair and Kingsbury has been outstanding. They've kept their team in this game.
Yeah, again, when you look at the categories throughout the NWSL and just, numbers-wise, these two keepers are usually in top 5 all-time in pretty much every category, including goose eggs. Hatch fights through Morse to Harding. DiBernardo. Helferty, Rodman, now on the left. Denied entry. Pugh snakes through, off to Aguilera. Back to Pugh in the middle. Nagasato gives it all she's got, but it goes off on the touchline.
You can tell that Chicago's a little bit tired. That's a sloppy pass from Pugh. We don't often see that. She's got so much time in the middle of the field there. Take another touch, put it correctly to Nagasato, and then if that pass does come off, Nagasato usually one to slide over and collect it seamlessly. I mean, you can tell Chicago's played a number of games in just a week's time.
Aguilera. Nagasato. Back and forth they go. Costly mistake. Sanchez lets it rip. Nair might have got a piece of that one, but it goes over the crossbar.
Great job by Washington here as this ball gets laid off by Hatch. Sanchez, she slices this. You can see she's leaning back and towards her left as she makes contact with it, which forces her hips to get so far around it, which is why it curls up and over, doesn't have a lot of pace behind it, and not aiming towards the corner.
Rodman for Washington. Doesn't get it through to Harding. Aguilera. Kingsbury calls everyone off on the other end. Time's a ticking for both sides. We know these two teams can score. 11 goals for Chicago in the regular season. Washington's, put up a decent number too. Put up 13 in the Challenge Cup. Washington's got 6 so far this year. Aguilera. Cook. Trying to beat Staub. It's very hard to do.
Cook all alone, no black jerseys coming in support. It's late Mallory Pugh on the far side, but even if Cook were to get around Staub, there was Sonnet there coming in and Kingsbury in goal to beat, but Cook's provided a lot of opportunities and creativity in the final end for Chicago.
Sanchez, full steam ahead. Slows up. Jukes around to the middle. Rodman. Left wing. Cross. Doesn't make it to Harding. Bagelski. Rotter. Left-footed swing. And bounces out in front of Nair.
I almost thought Chicago deflected and got a piece of that. Doesn't look like it. It's just a mishit by Rotter as it was bouncing, almost caught up under her. She tried to hit it with more power than she had and ends up just chipping it. It's an easy reset for Chicago. But in those moments when Washington gets the ball at the top of their 18 and they have those runners, can they find a little slip pass? One more through ball into the 18, just get a little closer. It's hard to beat Nair from distance. She's a really good shot stopper and shot blocker, but getting in behind, being more deceptive, that's what can get past Nair for Washington.
Milazzo. Nagasato, Feist. Bailey Feist. Rodman takes a shot. Nair stonewalls. Hill goes flying on that second chance. And again, Alyssa Nair coming up big.
Alyssa Nair having an incredible game tonight as Feist slips this through to Rodman. What a great turn by Rodman. And Nair, she makes the save, ends up just parrying it wide and then pops right back up, ready for the second shot if it were to come.
Pugh. Hill keeps it in. Off ahead. There's Malpugh, head to head with Staub in the box. Cut off by the defense. You could see all the jerseys around Pugh trying to deny her options. DiBernardo. Hill for Chicago. Still in the attacking third. Sanchez slips up a little bit. Chance for a service. Aguilera mistimes the header. And a foul is called against Colaprico. Well, we know we've got about 5 minutes left in this one. Still no score in Chicago between the Red Stars and the Spirit. Sharples, Nair, offside.
Second offside call by Pugh, or against Pugh rather. She's towing that line, looking to get in behind. Pugh's been quiet the last 20-25 minutes for Chicago. She hasn't found a lot of the ball. Instead, it's Cook who's doing a lot of work defensively and putting pressure on, but Pugh not able to connect and find passes with the midfield for the Red Stars.
Bigelski. Sanchez. Tripped by Nagasato. So a free kick here for Washington. Chicago trying to get set up defensively. From Sanchez. Doesn't hit anyone, Rodman.
That could have been a good opportunity for Washington. I mean, it's good placement, far out. If you can put that farther out from the mouth of the goal, closer towards the penalty spot, it gives an opportunity for Rodman Hatch to run onto it. Bit of a wasted opportunity for Washington towards the end of this, especially considering Washington scored against Chicago around this time 1 week ago on a set piece opportunity.
So Alyssa Max will come in, takes out Rachel Hill, and Samantha Fisher will also come in to take out Yuki Nagasato.
Good shift from Nagasato, getting a bit tired towards the end of this match in that midfield, now having Fisher. See the two fresh legs sprinting, putting pressure on Chicago, or on Washington.
Sanchez, Sonnet. Harding. Malazzo trips her. Harding limping to get ready here. Not a lot of time left for either side to get that game winner.
This is a good opportunity. Staub lining up over top of this set piece. High line by Chicago, just on the edge of the D, far enough out for Nair to give her enough space to come out and collect this ball. So it's the placement for Staub that needs to be perfect.
Off her left to Sonnet, and Nair punches it out.
Not a bad placement by Sam Staub. If it was a little farther out, maybe Nair would have questioned coming out, but the decision making for Alyssa Nair has been on point tonight. Her ability to leave her line has been really good.
Staub. Sanchez. Bouncer to Nair.
Here's a look at this set piece as Staub floats it in. Sonnet running with such incredible speed, and Nair punches it out. If Sonnet wasn't there, Nair probably would have tried to grab it. So Sonnet, a good job putting pressure on, but man, Alyssa Nair, she's had an incredible game tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth official has indicated that a minimum
So we're gonna get 4 minutes of stoppage time.
4 minutes.
That's a fair amount to get a decision in this one. Rotter, Sanchez, Bigelski. Little back up to Staub. Sonnet. To Rodman and Hatch. Nobody gets a foot on it. Right back at it though for Washington.
It's so congested for Washington. Look at all those bodies, not a lot of space in there. If they can find the ball wide Rodman on that far left side. She's wide open, and there's much more space out there for movement.
Helferty a little banged up, just kind of took a rocket off the body. Colaprico. Milazzo. Right to Bigelski. Sonnet swings it. Staub, Helferty. See Cook again. Rodman. Nothing there. Aguilera to Pugh.
Where are the options for Pugh? She's looking for anyone to support her as she picks up that ball, and there are no black Chicago jerseys anywhere to be found for Pugh.
And then she commits a foul there. Sonnet will take it for Washington. Again, we're nearing the end of this one. Can anybody get a decision here? Two sides already played to a draw last week. Harding, Sanchez. Helferty, Staub in the circle. Back to Sanchez. Can't penetrate the box. Flipped out. Pugh right behind Sonnet. Opts to send it to her keeper in Kingsbury. Helferty. No good to Hatch.
Oh, she had Rodman.
Bigelski. Rodder, Sanchez. Goes for it, and it's off low.
Unlucky for Bigelski. She had Rodder looking for that back post run. She had a step on her defender, and as Rodman looked to make the run, the ball never came, so Rodman had to slow up her play. Sanchez being a bit of a menace in the midfield for Washington, creating a lot of chaos.
And there's a final whistle. So these two teams played 2 matches in a week, and neither team gets a win, but neither team gets a loss. Another draw this time, a scoreless one for Chicago and Washington. Thoughts on this one, Lisa?
You could see the exhaustion from the players. As soon as that whistle was blown, they all just stopped in their places on the pitch. See them all now mulling around, but really a well-fought game between these two sides. Night and day from first half to the second half. The tempo completely changed in the second half, bringing on Rodman and Sanchez for Washington, and then the additions of Cook, Aguilera, Motts towards the end of this game for Chicago. It changed things, but a lot of good opportunities. It was a goalkeeper's game. Kingsbury, fantastic in goal for Washington. Alyssa Nair put up some big stops against some Washington attack. A lot of credit to both of these goalkeepers.
Yeah, a strong defensive matchup between Chicago and Washington. Nobody scores, and we get another draw for both sides. We'll wrap this one up on the other side of the break between Chicago and Washington.